My tactics.
Yes, the number one player in the world's tactics, and why you should not listen to him in this video. We are going to hear him out. You are going to see how cocky and arrogant he is, and you must be thinking, well, of course I should listen to him. He just dominates. Why wouldn't I use his tactics? Well, let's hear him out, and then I will tell you exactly why you can't.
Want to see the team I played with, how I scored, how I defended? Stay tuned because this is gonna be amazing.
Yes, it is going to be amazing for him and maybe a few other pros, but that's it. Now, you have to realize within FC Pro, you have your Messi and your Ronaldo, which really are one person right now, which is this man right here, Vejrgang. He is head and shoulders above everybody else. I'm not saying other people can't beat him at times, just like Messi and Ronaldo didn't always have the greatest games, but if you look at body of work, no other player can be consistently that great, right? That's why it's only Messi and Ronaldo when talking about the current GOATs. Vejrgang is that player in FC. So you have your other very, very good FC pros, and you'll have your lower level FC pros, and you have your top casual players, and you'll have your mid, and so on and so forth. You get what I'm saying. So the problem is that players of the lower levels, I'm talking even some FC pros shouldn't listen to these tactics because there's levels to this game, right? In certain areas where Vejrgang, and you'll hear him later on say he's the best in the world at player switching, for instance. He's the best in the world at a lot of things, which allows him to manually manipulate the players and the different formations and setups differently than most players, right? So where players like us may need to use different AI assistants with the player roles and the setup, he doesn't have to. Same with the depth of defense. He might be able to play an extremely high line, but then know when to switch to the defenders and cover, let's say, a long ball, or make sure that like a player like Mbappe, who's extremely fast and good, can't get in behind him. He has these certain abilities that other players don't have. So the biggest problem, and you're going to see it shortly, I'll go over these individual things that he says and why you shouldn't listen to him. But the problem is many players do. They go, I want to listen to the best of the best. Why wouldn't I? Of course, logically, it makes sense. So they copy and paste his tactics, and then they go out and they just get destroyed. And many times they'll think, man, I'm just terrible at the game. No, the bottom line is you, yes, have work to do most likely because no matter what your tactical setup is, your skill in the sticks is going to drive you the most. That's just the bottom line. Vejrgang could go out with the worst formation and tactics in the entire game and still dominate no matter who he played against. So it's your skill in the sticks first and foremost. But when you're at the lower levels, of course, formations, tactics, they're going to help you a lot. And if you don't have the right ones, that's going to make it much harder on you. So we're going to go through these examples, and then I will let you know why you shouldn't listen to these things.
About the players. In build-up, I have balanced. I think counter is like too fast, and short passing is like too defensive. The runs is not that good, so I just play with balanced. And here I have high 70. They do automatically offside traps, but it's easier to press, and I'm the best in the world at player switching, so it's by far the best for me.
So you heard him say it there. He's the best in the world at player switching. So of course, the higher line's not going to matter because his player switch is so good that he can cover any long balls, like I was saying earlier. However, I will say this one isn't so bad. You could get away with a higher line for sure. Now, I strongly suggest, just as a side note, you start at 50 and work from there. But this one isn't so bad. You could get away with playing balanced and high line and be fine. But the player roles is where you really cannot listen or you can put yourself in a world of trouble. So let's keep listening.
Fullback balanced, and the big reason is if you take defense, as you can see here, it's much harder to build up because he's more at the middle, and if he's here, it's like more normal, you know. So I think balance is must, and if you can't defend with fullback balance, then you should honestly just stop playing. I mean, like, it should be possible to defend with it because if you play with defense, you can't attack, so.
As I said earlier, you're going to hear how arrogant and cocky he is, but he is the best in the world. So you either hate him and watch this hope he gets beat, or you love him and watch to hope he wins because he's an amazing player. Either way, he's so confident because he's very, very good. With that being said, you can't listen to what he just said, right? This is a huge mistake many players make, and this is a prime example of it. Why would you not want to go fullback defense? because, in his words, you're terrible. You should just quit. So many players then will just listen to him. However, you might need fullback defense because if your players are on fullback balance and they're pushed a little bit up and a little bit out of shape, that might be the difference between you being able to defend, especially right now with how hard it is to manually defend. It might be the difference between you letting up a ton of goals and just letting up a few goals, right? Fullback defend is what many players go with because that's the best way to keep your back four in shape, right? When you go fullback balance, it's not way attacking, don't get me wrong, but they will push up a little to help with the attack. So fullback defend is what I strongly recommend, and then you can manually move them forward. Now, if you see that you feel like you can do better, as you improve at the game, then of course go back to full back balance. Or if you're seasoned in the game and you feel like I know what you're talking about, but full back balance is what I like because you want your wing backs a little further pushed up, and then you can manually pull them back. Maybe okay, go ahead. But for those players who are just gonna listen to what he said because he claims you're terrible if you don't do fullback and defend, doesn't matter what he says. Don't listen. I don't care if he's the best in the world, right? You have a lot of work to do before you can start listening to things like that.
That's obvious, I think. On the CDMs, I have D-Bank Playmaker build-up. It's like the most offensive thing you can put on the CDMs. And again, like many of you would maybe think, let's put defensive midfielder like Holding, so he's more defensive. But again, if you don't have the CDMs offensively, you should not play the formation because then you're just too bad and you need to try something else. But
this is even worse. Definitely don't listen to what Vejrgang says here, even though he tells you, if you can't do this, you're terrible, just try something else, blah, blah, blah. 4213, you definitely can still play, and you do not have to listen to him, especially you do not want to listen to him here. You need to go holding and either ball winning or defend. I personally go holding, ball winning. Sometimes I go holding, defend. Now, just recently, okay, and now listen, I play in the FC Pro events way lower than Vejrgang. I'm talking like the bottom FC Pro events, right? And I use one on ball, one of my CDMs on holding, ball winning, and the other one I put on the deep line playmaker build-up, right? Only one for me. Now, you can judge it based on your level, but you definitely don't want to listen to what he said where he just says, I go for the most attacking for both my CDMs, and if you can't do that and have them join the attack, then just don't play this formation. That's nonsense, but a lot of players will listen to him there, and they're going to end up getting cooked because they have too many players too far up the field. Now, even in my case, there's times where I play a very good opponent that's just dominating in the middle, and I need both of my CDMs in that holding, ball winning, or holding defensive setup, and I will go and change it. But you definitely do not just want to listen to Vejrgang here and just put your two CDMs on the most attacking setup. So another prime example, even worse than the wingback one, why you cannot listen to these top pros. You have to realize the level you're at and then build up. That's a big reason why I got into doing these videos, because many players just need some help, whether they played the game and just don't know video game parts, it didn't translate over of how to succeed in football games, or maybe they're just football video game fans but didn't play the game and they don't know and they need proper guidance. Vejrgang, best player in the world, great. He is amazing. He's fun to watch, but do not listen to him. He is one of the worst advice givers you could possibly have.
Zidane is plus. Bruno also. I think plus is a bit more needed here, but it's not like any must, and I just think that Playmaker is the best. I try Shadow Striker maybe one time, but I think Playmaker is clear.
Finally, some good advice, or at least not bad advice. The point I'm saying is, as you heard him say, he tried Shadow Striker, he didn't like it, so he went with Playmaker. Now, this can't hurt you. Vast majority of players using 4-2-1-3 will go Shadow Striker. However, Playmaker is definitely viable. So in this case, you can absolutely try Playmaker, see which one you like the best. Personally, I think it depends what player you have. For instance, Zidane, I do not like him as a Shadow Striker, right? They gave us that free to Zidane card with the evolution. I use him as Playmaker. I'm looking to replace him, though, and find an actual Shadow Striker that I can put in that position that's a little better on the ball. I'm not saying Zidane's not amazing, but just personal preference. I've never been a big Zidane fan. However, since he is my best option now, I do use him as Playmaker. So, not bad advice here. first piece of not bad advice from the top player in the world. Keep that in mind as a prime example of why you cannot just listen to these top pros and copy and paste their tactics.
If we just take the strike, I have advanced forward attack. I think that's almost what everyone plays with.
And here he is exactly right, so you can listen to him here as well. Just about everyone plays advance forward and attack on their striker. Now, sometimes players go poacher if their player doesn't have the advance forward plus or plus plus. Do I personally like advance forward better? Absolutely. However, is poacher viable? Yes, it is. So you just have to choose. Is the striker you want worth it to, keep the poacher plus or plus plus, or play as an advance forward without any pluses? Or do you want to go get a different striker that has advanced forward? But the most popular option here is advanced forward attack.
I think I have roaming, and I think it's a lot better because the runs he's doing is better. So you do more different runs, and also it's more in the defense. So
now what he's talking about here is inside forward for both of his wingers. People always use inside forward, but they either use attack or bounce. Really, it's almost always between those two options for inside forward. However, Vejrgang uses roaming. Now, again, this is not as dangerous or as bad of advice as what he said about the CDMs and what he said about the wingbacks, especially with the arrogance of if you can't play this way, then just don't play at all. So you can choose to use this, but do not just take his word for it. Go test it out. Maybe a squad battles match. Make sure that if you go inside forward roaming for your wingers, that it actually suits your gameplay. Don't just do it because Vejrgang does it or because he said to do it. If inside forward balance or inside forward attack works better for you, then stick with that. So you guys get what I'm saying here. You guys get the point. You can't just copy and paste anybody's tactics, and you definitely can't just say, oh, this player is a very good player, or even he's the best player in the world, and go copy and paste his tactics or listen to him or her, because you will end up in a worse spot than if you just played and learned the game yourself, because there's different levels. You have to crawl before you walk. That's why I strongly suggest that you absolutely take guidance, but make sure you're taking guidance from players that are catering towards you, that are trying to help you at your level improve. Hence why I am trying to do what I'm trying to do, because I feel like there's a big gap and many players are misguided and end up thinking they're worse than they are because they're taking bad advice. They just assume because it's the best players in the world that it's the best advice they can get, and it's absolutely not. In fact, it's some of the worst advice that you can get, as I showed you in this example from this video. So keep grinding, keep having fun. You absolutely can and will improve if you want to. And I will see you on the next one.